Ghana's highly respected HIV/AIDS ambassador, Joyce Jijo-Mensah, says she had never tested positive for HIV. She says she was only telling the nation and the world on a lie to satisfy her selfish interest. We'll cross over to the phone line and then we speak with the National AIDS Control Program. Currently, I've been joined on the line by Dr. Eyisi Ado, who is the Programs Manager of the National AIDS Control Program. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing, sir?
To your audience. Yeah. Fine, thanks.
I'm sure you've heard about Joyce Jijo-Mensah's revelations today.
Yeah, I've heard bits and pieces. Not directly, but I've been informed that there's been a confession to that effect. Yeah.
I guess you didn't know about it till now.
Yeah, no, I didn't know about it. So, and I want to find out whether you have, since you got this information, have you contacted the Ghana AIDS Commission?
We've been trying since morning to get the Ghana AIDS Commission to speak to us, but to no avail.
All right, I'm sorry, you should keep trying and get the other side of it. But before it's an evolving story, so as a program,
yes,
when I got information, we have also tried to, we put in the mechanism to find out some information as well.
Okay.
Because for anybody who is HIV, eventually, you first of all must fit a certain criteria. You need to be assessing health care from a particular source. So we are doing all those necessary checks. But what I would advise, as far as this information is concerned, is for us to realize that there are various reasons why somebody will do that. First of all, we need to even assess whether all that she's saying, she really means it.
That she is not HIV positive after all?
Exactly, because I've heard portions that she said she did this because of stigma and all that. So we need to look at it. The reason, because of the same issues of stigma, people will try to also take away, they can't continue to live under a certain impression or tag.
Okay.
And therefore they can take the steps to try to use various means. But if we are taking her words for it, I think that as a program, we will do some further checks. And then, because this has to do with confidential information and all that, and I'll decline to speak on certain things. But we're looking at it bigger. It all has to do with the people's state and all that, because remember that linked to all this could be issues about stigma, depression, and all that. And I'll prefer that we manage this, appropriately. I'm not looking at her as an individual, but I'm looking at other persons living with HIV. And the effect and the impact.
All right.
And so I'll encourage the whole public and the media that in proceeding this way, you should look at the bigger picture and what could be the impact on the whole, response.
But
because it's still an issue about stigma and all that. And therefore, at the end of the day, individual coming to confess, we need to take it on its own merit and assess. There are other aspects to it, defrauding and all that, but those are not what we are looking at now. We will be looking at the person's state of mind, her health, how she feels. We would like to even talk to her. Plus, we check some other data, independently, but try also to establish some contact with the commission.
But she's been speaking. She's been speaking since morning when I heard of the news, and she's been on 3 different media networks already. And she's currently on ours. She's done with her interview. They are on her way back to the office. And I'm wondering why you won't know about it before she goes public. Because if not for anything, you are stakeholders.
Okay, so we are stakeholders, and the commission that appointed them as ambassadors will certainly have some kind of memorandum of understanding as to how they should act and all that. So that's why you need to check whether there's been a breach, because ideally you can't go out to say anything. But we as a program, we are a little remote from it. And so we will try to manage the other components to it, and especially because she's speaking without recourse to us. You didn't talk to her. Maybe there could be other factors. You don't know her state of mind and health. and what she may be fighting. And we will look at it from the perspective of healthcare. So such a person, when we come, we are looking at her, how to counsel, to look at what the situation is. But people can say a lot of things. She could be going through a certain emotional, experience. And we would like to approach it from that and before. And remember that when it comes to ascertaining a person's status, it's not very difficult.
Okay.
It's always possible to establish and all that. But we get stories like this.
Right.
But because she is an ambassador, it's come out. But there are others like that who will go to a prayer camp. Some priests declare themselves negative and all that. And it's all because they want to fight off certain stigma and so on and so forth. So we will look at it from the perspective of healthcare delivery.
But
we will check the data sources, because if she was not, and she was visiting a clinic, and all, we need to check all those things.
Okay, because I would like to know what process she would have gone through before they came out to announce that she is one of the HIV/AIDS ambassadors.
Okay, that's
at least.
I think
we need to check her status first.
Yeah.
If she.
That's why I said you need to check with the commission. I think the commission will clearly outline the steps, what it takes to become ambassador and so on and so forth.
All right, so we'll leave it here for now, and then we're hoping to get the commission also before the end of this bulletin to tell us more on what we need to know. Thank you very much, Dr. Isiado, who is the Programs Director of the Ghana National AIDS Control Program. Thank you very much. But earlier, I spoke to Dr. Maurice Ampao on News Today, and he told us that this can be termed as being fraudulent. What Jijo did is fraudulent. So let's go to earlier. We'll try, and then we get the Ghana AIDS Commission. We're also trying to get a soundbite. He has granted interview to our PM Express team, and so they'll be here as soon as possible, and then we get something and give you first-hand information on what she has been saying about her status as an HIV/AIDS ambassador. Moving on to other stories, one of the 6 witch camps in the northern region of Ghana, Bonyase Witch Camp, is to be formally closed today, Monday, December 15. Over 50 alleged witches are expected to be reintegrated into communities of their choice, increasing the total number of reintegrated victims from 199 to 249 over the past year. My colleague, Francisca Abla de Souza, is in the area and has brought us this report.
The community of Bonyase in the northern region has housed quite a number of women and men who have been accused of witchcraft. Right now it houses about 5 accused witches at the Bonyase Witch Camp, which is right behind me. We are here to look at the reintegration process since this place is going to be disbanded. We're going to look at the reintegration process. We want to speak to the priestess of this shrine, who also doubles as the queen of this community. We want to talk to her. We want to also speak to the women who have been accused of witchcraft. We'll go through the purification process, and we'll also engage the mood of the accused witches. Are they really interested in going home? Do they want to go home? Do they think they are going to be accepted? Are they really ready for this? Is the priestess certain that this is what has to be done? We entreat you to stay with us as we interrogate these issues and as we kind of take you through the Bonyase Witches Camp. 6 fowls each for each woman, 2 each killed, a goat, 12 pieces of kola nut, a mat. The process has gone on with 5 women freed of witchcraft. The purification process is done now, so they are going to be sent to homes in the community just to signify the kind of reintegration. Tradition still stands, witchcraft is still there.
When I came here, I was I came and met 6 other persons, and I came to be the 7th person. All the other 6 have been taken home. I am the only one still here. It means that I am the senior here.
Nama aliya bana di wahala karakane kata bol sayole yan bol sayole na wula kam ni yan ta kimi biyan yan ta billa gonsane yan ta kimi kana yi so nya fule nkunja tintin so nkunja bo bore kata dire ngolo ngo ta sam lan yele ta she nyele kwa she na woni nyele mi
she's just saying that being called a witch is something else. She doesn't know how to explain how being called a witch is, because she can hardly sleep because she's been labeled as a witch. As she sits here, she knows definitely she will also die. So why then will she want to take away somebody's life untimely? It's something she doesn't have a heart to even do. But here is the case: she has been accused as a witch. I'll be staying with my uncle when I am finally sent home from here.
So that is very disturbing, and to talk about that and other issues that we've been talking about in today's bulletin. I've been joined in the studio by Lawrence Amisu, who is the Country Director of Amnesty International. Welcome to the studio,
Thank you very much.
Well, what do you think? You watched the story attentively. What do you think about it?
It's a very worrying development. In fact, government has an obligation to promote, protect, and fulfill the rights of every individuals in our country, particularly children. And in this country, we find that children do a lot of hazardous work. And this, what we have seen today, what we've seen in the mines with children, working, not only working, but handling mercury, which is very poisonous substance. I'm happy that Shraj has worked on it, but I think that should not be the end. We should ensure that when we come out with reports, we should insist. We should ensure that government takes action.
Recommendations are implemented.
Exactly so. In this particular case, I want to say that civil society, including the media, should also play a role. We should continue in those communities to educate parents and children of the aftermath of handling those kind of substances.
They are looking at the now. They are not looking at the future. That's the problem. And for a child like that, I'm sure he didn't even know what mercury could do. That
is very true. In fact, poverty is the root of all those kind of problems that we face in our country. That is why it is important that in those communities we try to implement projects that will help parents to have money to take care of their children. In fact, I heard one of the children saying that it is not my fault.
Yes, it's my mother and my father.
that is very pathetic statement to hear. That a young child like that, who realizing that the parents are not taking up their responsibility, wants to do something for himself. And that is where he finds himself. He doesn't even know that the substance is holding is dangerous to his or
but
life.
That brings to mind where they got it from.
I believe that there are some frontiers already. They are just using the children because it's a cheaper labor to get the children. So there are people who are actually the owners of the mines, and they are using the children.
They employ the children.
They employ the children.
Don't you think it's about time there is a soup or something, so all these mines are closed? I know you're talking about poverty and the levels are high up there, but you're looking at the lives of these children. So anything that endangers the lives of these children, look at it, they don't have right to education anymore. It has been taken away from them. Then critical steps must be taken to close these mines, perhaps.
Yes, in fact, we have to close the mines, but when you are poor, one situation cannot solve your problem. Maybe people will move in there, but they cannot be there for permanently. Okay. If you move in there and then close the mine, by the time you get back, people have gotten in there. Okay. So we have to be looking at the short term, the medium term, and the long term solution. Okay. And it's because of that that the cocoa industry already said that if a country has children working in that cocoa industry, cocoa will not be purchased. Okay. And Ghana has moved forward in helping to solve that problem. Mining is another major area that the government has to pay a particular attention to, so that our children don't die, they don't get short about education, but also that we avoid calamity, because when mercury spreads now, it is not going to be only those who touch it, but it will. Now we are having to handle Ebola. We don't know how it started. Yeah. These are the things that we need to nip in the bud before it grows into a bigger level that we cannot handle.
So moving forward, what must we do? Aside Shraj knowing about the issue, making recommendations, what do we do about that?
I will say that the media, the civil society, to continue to push government to, first of all, take measures to close down those mines. Okay. And then we civil society will do a lot of education for parents, but we'll also encourage Ministry of Women, Children, and Social Protection for them to take action by moving the LEAP projects into those communities, so that people have something to do instead of just allowing themselves to decide what to do. And the children will definitely go into those kind of...
care of, I think. Let's move on to the witches camp, the Bonyase witches camp. It's just one of many in the country that is going to be closed down today. I know it's a step in the right direction, but with all the flamboyance and everything, I was asking my colleague earlier, after the closure, then what?
In fact, for Amnesty International, that's one of the best actions that have been taken. Okay. Particularly as we hear it at Human Rights Day, as we mark the Human Rights Day. I think that it is not enough to say we've closed down the camp. Action has to be taken to ensure that we really close the camps. Okay. But also, at the other end, looking at how the women will be integrated into the community.
Exactly my problem.
Yes, and I agree with you that it is going to be difficult, but it will be challenging, but it's not unsurmountable. We should be able to. I think it needs a lot of education in those communities for them to accept, and for the women themselves also to accept to go into those communities.
They know what awaits them, so I will not, like my colleague said, one particular woman is not ready to go. She is even begging to continue staying in the witches' camp because she knows what awaits her. When she goes, you know, that stigma, that she's going to be labeled as such. She may not even get food to eat when she goes back home. The family may not be able to accept her back because it casts a snare on the family also. So if you are closing it down, then what?
That is why before we take those actions, we need to do a lot of education. Not only for the communities, but also for the inmates themselves, the women themselves, to allay that fear that when they go to the community, they will still be lynched or they will not be accepted. It is very important, and I believe that the ministry had taken that step before saying that we're going to close. Without that, it will be difficult because, yes, I agree with you that the women will be saying that, well, who is going to accept me? If I go, maybe they will beat me up, they will be insulting me, and that kind of thing. So I believe that the ministry has taken some action by educating before.
I am thinking the work should start from the community to the camp, because those who brand them witches are in the community.
Definitely.
And so if you close it down and they go back, does that mean no one is going to be branded as a witch again?
I believe that this issue is not only for those communities that we are talking about. It is a Ghanaian issue. All right. All Ghanaians tend to believe that there's witch. It's just because we have camps in the north. That's why we tend to look at that. But we need to do a lot of education to disabuse Ghanaians' mind about this witches issue. And I agree with you that those communities that we are going to be moving the women back to, they are the first we need to look at for them to accept. And I hope and I believe that the ministry had done that work. If not, yes, the civil society and the media need to do those kind of education, so that they will be willing, not force, but willing to accept the women back into those communities. Do
you think criminalizing the act of labeling someone a witch can help at all?
I do not necessarily think that it will solve the problem. It has to be a multifaceted. We have to fight this through various other means. If you criminalize it, you are not saving the situation so much, because the woman should be ready to say, I am going, and the people must agree that you are coming. If you criminalize it and somebody does something and then you arrange that person at the court and you take him or her through the courts, there are other people who are waiting in the community for the woman to come back. So that is not the end result. We need to do a lot of education for all of us to accept the situation before we start closing the...
So what do you think will be a deterrent to people who do this, from the chief priest to residents in the community who label someone a witch, and they have to take the person through some difficult ceremonies and rituals before they even send the people out of the community, banish the person out of the community, or send the person to a witch's camp?
In fact, Amnesty International has been doing a lot of human rights education in communities, particularly in the northern part. And what we do is to bring in the elders, the chiefs, the opinion leaders together for all of us to discuss and then come into agreement about, oh, these are problems, let's solve it this way. Once you handle it that way, and the chiefs and the elders decide themselves that, oh, this is a barbaric act, let's look at it in a different way, you'll be solving that problem rather than forcing people. And that is why I think that human rights education is very important if you want to address this issue.
All right. Finally, let's talk about the Y Islamic Senior High School and the military's, the outcome of the investigation, that they did nothing wrong. You have a problem with that?
I seriously have a problem with that. In the first place, I do not think that soldiers need to go to the school like that. It's the duty of the police to keep peace and order. If it goes beyond the police and the soldiers come in, I do not think that those excesses are acceptable. It's a human rights abuse. And from Amnesty International perspective, if you ask military to go and investigate an issue that military is involved, you do not, rather unfortunately, expect any other thing than what the report is saying, that they don't think that the soldiers did anything wrong.
You think another group should have investigated?
I believe that, in fact, I will want to suggest that the Parliamentary Select Committee on Defense and Interior should have been the best body to look at this. I totally disagree with the report, because I haven't heard from the students. We are only hearing from the military, and unfortunately I don't expect that they will come and say that they incriminate their own people.
Are you going to take some action? Or?
In fact, Amnesty International will continue to bring these sort of issues to the attention of the government to take action. In fact, as we speak, another issue is on my table now, where a young man who was driving 10 soldiers in a car all of a sudden say, stop the car, stop the car. And when he stopped, one of them jumped into the car and tried to wrestle him out of the car. Others started banging on his car. He got out, he leaned on the wall. The 10 soldiers with guns started beating him. What is happening in this country? We are in a democratic country.
What did he do?
Yeah, I mean, when he was asking, what did I do? What did I? They continued to beat him up. And when they decided that they would take him to the police station, and he agreed quickly, because he said he wanted to avoid the assault continuing. When they got to the police station, the soldiers said, it's okay. And then they started apologizing. Today I read in the papers that 2 soldiers went to the church and seized instruments, because apparently the bishop or so owed them. I do not think...
Are they debt collectors?
I do not think that this development in this country is acceptable. We need to nip it in the bud before it becomes an animal that we cannot handle.
You think the soldiers are getting out of hand?
I think that
lawless?
I think some soldiers
are becoming
lawless, in this country. And I will appeal to the commanders, the top hierarchy, to take action immediately so that the situation does not become something that we cannot handle in this country.
All right. Thank you very much. I've been speaking with Mr. Lawrence Amesu, who is the country director of Amnesty International. We'll be back with more stories. All right. Before we go for the break, let's cross over to Parliament for an update on today's proceedings. Eric Curtis Howard is standing by. Hello, Curtis.
Hello, Martha.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Martha.
Update us on what has been happening in Parliament today.
Okay, two major things. First, the minority held a press conference.
Okay.
You recall on Wednesday, they brought a bill, a GIDA bill to Parliament, which is the minority force for the postponement of that bill. So they had a press conference. They insisted that they want to know where some amount of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis, where that money is, before they will consider that bill to be read on the floor of Parliament and subsequently passed into law. So that was the focus of their
press conference.
They held it up. But for today's session, the House approved 3 motions. First of all, it has to do with the budgetary allocation for the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture. Some 52 million Ghana cedis was approved. And also, the office of the head of the civil service budget was also approved. And then some other government agencies budget was also approved. So the Speaker of Parliament has actually suspended session for the next 2 hours for members to come back to approve the budget statement for other agencies and departments of government for the year ending 2016. So that's a rundown of proceedings that are actually happening on the floor of Parliament.
Okay, but how about the appearance before the appointments committee? Were you able to get anything?
As you're speaking now, the Minister of Power is before the appointment committee. We are, I'm yet to go through that particular place to really find out what is actually happening. So I will update US as when get any other information.
All right. Thank you very much. Eric Curtis Howard is in Parliament and he is updating us on happenings in the House. We'll take a short break here. We'll be back with more stories. And now to some business. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has hinted that current talks with Ghana on a possible bailout program have reached a stage where government needs to adopt policies that will support the program. According to the IMF, this is to enable the bailout program to get the approval of its executive board. This was disclosed by the deputy spokesman of the Communications Department of the IMF, William Murray, at a press conference in Washington, USA. The IMF, after its first round of discussions on a possible program for Ghana, announced some targeted key areas it will push government to bring the country economy back on track. The fund has also targeted a drastic review of the single spine salary structure, SSSS, which, according to government, drains more than 50% of its revenue. Government in August headed to the Bretton Woods institution for a bailout program on the back of an ailing economy amid huge debt levels, heightened inflation, ballooning wage bill, a fast depreciating cedi, among others.